And last thing I want to touch on here in our introduction to data types is that Python uses dynamic typing, which means we don't have to explicitly define the type, and the types can often be changed. A lot of programming languages, you need to define the type uh, of a variable as you write the code to create that variable. In Python, you don't. It assumes type. And I'll show you an example of that here in a second. We can also do something called type casting, which is converting between types. For example, we can make a number into a string and vice versa, as we see here. So let's go over to idle, and let's create a variable called my number and assign that the value of 5. And let's see what type that is. Remember, we have this type command. We just put our variable inside the parentheses here, my number. It will show us Python understands this to be an integer. That's what int means here. Now, what if we do my other variable? Okay, and we assign that to a value of quotation, double quote, 5. Remember what happens when we put quotes around a value and assign it a variable? That is a string. So if we type my other variable, this should be a string, right? And indeed it is. Python sees that as a string. It uses this dynamic typing. We don't have to explicitly say this is a string. Python understands it to be a string because of the way we've defined the variable with these quotes. Now, what if we try to say my number 2, or let's make it more clear, my other number equals blah? Is it going to work? Python would have to understand this, right, as a number or a string, but we don't have quotes, so Python can't say that it's a string. So we think, will it try to make it a number? Well, that throws a syntax error. That throws an error, and it's like, well, I don't know what to do with that because you're not following my rules in defining variables. It's not a string because it doesn't have these quotes around it. It's not a number because blah is not a number, clearly. So there's just a simple demonstration of converting between types, numbers and strings specifically, and how we can define variables, the whole data, and how Python understands and interprets that in order to do stuff.